What if you could avoid the majority of the reasons why people die today? You know, as a doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, there are some practices that really overlap with conventional medical wisdom. And there are others that are maybe pretty unique and you may not have heard before that are very, very, very effective at making sure you don't die of the same things that the majority of people die from. So in today's video, let's talk about these three practices from traditional Chinese medicine that may not be as quite obvious, but are very, very beneficial in the way that they can avoid potentially many of the causes of death today. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Alex Hein, board licensed doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and author of the health book Master the Day. So let's jump in here. Now, the first practice I want to talk about here is Qigong. Qigong, you could say, literally translate to qi work or even breath work. And while breath work today is becoming very, very trendy, especially here in California, Qigong has been going on for several thousands of years in East Asia. So literally for thousands of years, there are different kinds of Qigong practices that involve the synchronization of breathing with physical movements and postures or exercise, as well as certain kinds of visualizations. Way back into the BC era, doctors and practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine noted that this thing that they call qi was the precursor to lots of illnesses. Now, qi, I don't like necessarily translating as energy. I don't think that is really truly the best translation. It is a cultural concept. For example, ancient doctors noted that this kind of stuffy feeling in the chest, that sighing, that shortness of breath feeling you get after a stressful day, maybe with a low-grade tension headache, was something that they call qi stagnation. So for example, a lot of us can feel the effects of stress in our body at the end of a long day. What these ancient doctors had noted, and the practitioners of Qigong, was that before you develop a chronic illness, like let's just say it's indigestion, right? Acid reflux. There is a precursor to that is not always easy to measure because it is very subtle. And I would even argue, even today with all of the state-of-the-art, highly sophisticated equipment and technology, lots of the little baby seeds of illness we still can't predict. But many times your body will notice it at a very, very subtle level. Now, Qigong is amazing for both treating that precursor by making sure there's proper physiological flow and proper functional flow of your organs. In general, what differentiates Qigong, if you see some old dude in the park and he's doing something like this, or he's breathing and doing some Tai Chi, what differentiates that from going to the gym and lifting weights is that Qigong has three inherent pieces. Piece number one is that yes, there are physical postures and physical movements. There is sort of an inhale and an exhale movement, but there's also, in addition to the physical movements, which would be just exercise, there's also breathing. Breathing is one of the fastest ways you can regulate your nervous system, regulate your heart rate, and therefore regulate your physiology, like stress hormones. So we have the physical movement, we have breathing exercises. There are dozens of different kinds of breathing exercises in Qigong, and often there's a visualization component. So sometimes practitioners will be doing like a shaking Qigong, where you're jumping up and down and shaking, and at the same time, you might be regulating your breathing with a specific kind of breathing and visualizing, let's say, for example, light coming in the crown of your head and just gently making space in each of your vertebrae as you're shaking like that. So these three pieces are what makes something Qigong and not just physical exercise. In Chinese, there's a saying that Qigong wards off the 10,000 illnesses. And what that means is that Qigong is very effective for treating the myriad, many different kinds of illnesses that people have. So let's say Qigong is the intersection of physical exercise and meditation. And if you look at the leading causes of death in many of the developed countries in the world and some of the less developed ones, cardiovascular disease still is in the top 3 causes of death. And you know what improves that? Physical exercise, including Qigong. Now, Qigong, like exercise, can improve many different kinds of illnesses. If you look at the reasons people die young today, often heart disease, strokes, certain kinds of cancers are strongly correlated with metabolic dysfunction, right? The cluster of symptoms related to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, excess body fat in general. But sometimes it's not always quite clear where symptoms are coming from. So I've actually taken the time to put together this free quiz. Now, this quiz is basically, according to traditional Chinese medicine, this is the root cause of your symptoms most likely. It's a really in-depth free handout we've put together. It's the first link below this video, or you can also go to dralexheyn.com/quiz and go through that quiz, and it will basically spit out, based on these 3 symptoms, your issue is probably with the pancreas or the heart and your nervous system or your kidneys. And we've taken time to put together our best resources and our best videos that will help you try to suss out and figure out what is the root cause of some of those symptoms you're having. So make sure you check out that quiz. First link below this video, and we'll jump back in here. Now, while your doctor may never prescribe Qigong, there's something else that is very important as well, which is what I call the yin and yang of diet. If you think about East Asia, yin and yang are not only cultural concepts, they're also very clinical concepts. For example, a yang pathology or illness or symptom is like a fever. It's active, it's warm, it's fast moving, it's expressive. While a yin symptom may be something like someone who has cold hands and feet. We have yang symptoms and yin symptoms, but in the same way, you can think of your diet as yang or yin. For example, a diet high in animal protein, high in fried food, alcohol, and coffee is a very yang diet, meaning it is promoting more warmth. It can also lead to things like potentially excess inflammation, which again manifests or expresses itself as warmth. And a more yin diet is things like more vegetables, potentially more smoothies, more, for example, avocados versus animal fats, if you're trying to get different kinds of fats in. And why this is important is very, very simple. When you look at, again, the reasons why many of us die today, it is related to a diet that is too yang and too warming. Now, what that means is that we know from looking at the Mediterranean diet, a diet that is more high in varied kinds of plants, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, that moving more towards a plant-based diet is more beneficial for longevity. And therefore, before longevity even is more beneficial for your health right now. Your heart will function better, your libido will work better, you'll sleep better, your stomach will work better, your pancreas will work better, your liver will work better. And a lot of the reasons why people have chronic issues that may or may not be related to the actual reasons they die is we're eating a very inflammatory diet, too high in processed foods, which is high calories. The excess body fat you see in a way mirrors the internal body fat, like for example, that accumulates in your liver, right? Non-alcoholic fatty liver is an interior manifestation of what's going on externally. The inflammation in your intestines is also a mirror typically of the diet and will show externally as well in body fat. In general, what tends to benefit people the most from a yin-yang perspective is moving more towards a yin diet. And I'll give you a little final tidbit here. One of my mentors said, eat monk food. I said, what do you mean monk food? And he said, just eat rice and vegetables. Rice and vegetables, honestly, is a pretty decent base. It doesn't have much protein, but in terms of a very clean and a very low inflammatory diet, rice and vegetables, monk food is pretty good. So we've talked about Qigong. We've talked about the yin and yang of diet, and now let's talk about something called the body scan. I had a patient several years ago who was coming in because she had just had her gallbladder removed. Beyond just treating the residual effects of having her gallbladder removed, she still had GI problems. She also had high blood pressure, and she also had some issues with chronic sinusitis. She was having sinus infections every single year, needing antibiotics, and she was concerned about how problematic it was for her gut, and she wanted to frankly figure out what the actual root cause of that was. For this particular patient, as we were talking, I said to her, was there ever any inkling that something was going wrong beforehand? And she said, thinking back, I could see all of the symptoms for years beforehand. I was just maybe moving a little bit too quick and I was maybe doing too much. So she had said that, I did notice they put me on beta blockers because I was having a high heart rate throughout the day. But, I just sort of ignored it for a while. Why do we miss these little signs? I mean, it's human after all. We all ignore things or we all miss certain things. And I would argue the main reason is that we don't practice this practice called the body scan enough. So I'll walk you through how to do this in the next 30 seconds because it is something you can utilize throughout the day that is very, very, very effective at catching things when they are just those little canaries in the coal mine. First, I want you to start and just close your eyes. And all you're going to do is we're going to break the body down into quadrants. So we'll start off by focusing from the forehead up or the sinuses up. And all I want you to observe is if there's any sensation there. You may notice a little bit of a band, tension headache, some pressure in the forehead in the sinuses. You may notice a stuffy nose or some postnasal drip or a runny nose. And then as we go down more and more to the throat, do you notice postnasal drip, a little bit of phlegm in the throat? As we go beyond the neck, are we noticing fullness in the chest? Are we noticing our heart rate in our chest? You shouldn't be feeling your heart unless you're working out. Are we noticing sensation there? Are we noticing chest tightness? Are you noticing just anxiety there? Then, as we go down a little more, we go to the top of the stomach. And then we can say, am I feeling any sensation? Fullness, indigestion, burning, discomfort up on the right, discomfort up on the left, discomfort around the belly button, bloating. And then finally, we can go into the low abdomen here. And in the low abdomen, we can do the same thing. Bloating, pain, pressure, a low-grade cramping sensation, just generalized sensation there that's not quite clear. Then you can go down the legs and into the feet as well. Are they cold? Are they warm? Are they numb? Etc. The reason the body scan is so important is that inevitably, these problems that are chronic are occurring for years beforehand. Years before they become a really serious, consistent problem. So if you can practice this 1, 2, 3 times a day, just for 30 seconds or a minute, close your eyes, you will often be able to spot things very, very early on before you need organs removed or you need to be on medication for life. So these practices are really, really helpful. I've seen them help lots of my patients here. Again, don't forget guys, I work with a limited number of new patients every single month in my clinic in Los Angeles or virtually via telemedicine. You can go to dralexheyne.com/clinic, or we've put all the information below for my clinic and my practice here in Los Angeles. If you want to just reach out, just send us an email or give us a call. And then before you go, I have some other related practices from traditional Chinese medicine that can really help you right up here.